Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. I'm currently back in London. I am in London with my mom. I am reunited with my mom and we are going to Beyonce tonight, which I'm so excited for. I've got my merch on. I've woken up a little bit early before my mom wakes up so I can film a couple videos and talk to all of you. But I want to talk about the last maybe 48 hours of my life before I get into the video because the weirdest stuff has been happening to me. So first of all, right here, I have my suitcase. Now I have two suitcases here and I want to show you this for a reason. Now, first of all, I have never really splurged on anything in my life except for these suitcases because I travel a lot and I love how distinctive the color of this green suitcase looks, and I've always wanted a Rimowa, which are these kind of suitcases, right? And so I'd saved up money and I got two of the green ones whenever I was in LA last year, and this was a big deal for me because, again, I don't like spending money like this. And I have been, putting stickers on my suitcases from everywhere I go. I've got my Dolly, my Bonnie. I have the South is my happy place. I got that in Tennessee. I've got my Nashville one, Washington, D.C., another Tennessee one, a Dollywood one. I froze my nuts off in Minneapolis. We have a Tennessee one, clearly a lot of Tennessee on here. Michigan, Taylor Swift, Arizona, some ones that muckers have given me, whatever, right? Not from every place I've gone, but just whenever I can get stickers. Now, these cases, I have two of them, are my pride and joy, and, whenever you go on a flight, your case can get kind of messed up on the other side, like whenever it goes through baggage claims. I'm aware of that, right? I have never had an experience like this in my entire life, and I actually am dumbfounded, and I wonder if anyone else has went through this. So basically, I cannot open either of these suitcases. I have two right here. As you can see, there's two suitcases. I literally cannot open either of them anymore because I always fly American Airlines or British Airways because I have a British Airways rewards card, so I collect points, right? So anyways, I was flying with American Airlines, who I normally don't have any problems with, and my cases arrive, and there was no problem with either of these cases before they got on this flight. I actually have a before photo as well because I took one because I put new stickers on it. So tell me why one of the cases arrives, and I don't know if you can see this, but they've given my girl a body. They've given her, I've never seen, I'm like, what the fuck did they do? Are you seeing this on camera? Like the actual fucking indent? They literally have crushed her and given her a snatched waist. Look at this. Hold on. Are you seeing? I'm so angry. Wait. Are you seeing what they've done to her? What? No, this isn't even the worst one. So they've broken this that it doesn't open anymore because the latches are down here. So that's that was the first one that came down and I was like, oh my God, they've broken my case. So tell me why my other case, which was perfectly fine, comes out saran wrapped like it's about to go in the fucking oven, and it's literally, covered in this saran wrap, and they've broken both of the fucking latches. Both of the latches are broken. This bag can no longer close. That's why they've basically just duct taped it. I've never had an experience like this where not only one of my cases goes down, but both of them. And I reached out to American Airlines and I was like, hey girl, what happened here? Like, why have you given her like a snatched waist? Like, normally I wouldn't care for her being a baddie, but like, you've broken both of my cases. And they were like, oh, there's nothing we can do about it because you've already left the airport. So I literally cannot open either of those until I go back home to Ireland. I'm going back home tomorrow because I'm getting to see my dogs, which I'm so excited for. Luckily, I had a Beyonce hoodie in my carry-on and my jeans that I was wearing. So I guess I'm just wearing this to the concert because I cannot open those cases. Now, the last story I want to tell you was in New York last night or the night before. I went out and, like I said, I ended up meeting Miley Cyrus, which was so exciting. I was staying at the same hotel that she was at. And so after I meet her, I ended up organizing like a really quick mucker meetup, which was really fun. Thank you to everyone that showed up, impromptu. Shout out to my unemployed bitches. And I was sitting at the hotel bar, and it's like a nice hotel. I've never been before. It's the Carlisle in New York. I've never stayed there before. I just had a little bit of work to do, and I needed to be away from my apartment, which was fine. And so anyways, I'm at the hotel bar, and I'm, kind of working on my computer or whatever. And then I end up like meeting, different people or whatever. And I started talking to all these different people. And ultimately I ended up going out with this table that were there. And they seemed really, really, really nice. And they seemed like a good vibe. And so we go out and they're Ubering us to this place. I can't remember what the name of it was. I think it was called like Paul's something. I don't know what it was. So we all go there. And there's like a huge queue, and they're like, oh, we don't need to queue. We can just go in. We know people. You're lucky you're with us. You're our guest tonight. And I was like, okay. Already quite weird. Like, I've just met these people, and now I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this like hierarchy scheme. So we get into this club. It's like pitch black. There were actually a couple muckers in there. They ended up tagging me in their photos, and I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing here? And so anyways, we all sit down on the table, and the girls go, what should we order? And the guy goes, we should order a bottle of champagne. Now, my ears perk up, and I'm like, obviously, I love a bottle of champagne. So, I instinctively pull out my card, and the girls pull out their card, and he pulls out his. And then he goes, oh, girls, you don't need to pay. Like, we'll just do it. And I go, that's fine. So me and him put our cards down to split this bottle of champagne. Now, I've done this before, and, okay, let's play a little game here. How much do you think that if you were splitting a bottle of champagne in a club between two people, you would be paying? Because in my mind, I was expecting them to come back with $50 to like $100 maybe out of my account, and I would, tip on top of that. So the girl comes back and goes, hey, which one of you is Adam McIntyre? And I go, it's me. And she goes, your card declined. And I go, oh? And she goes, yeah, it's an international card. We need you to come up and put in your number into the machine. And I go, yeah, of course. So I go to get up. And then I go, by the way, how much is it? Because I was like, my card should have gone through, because my card has a limit when it comes to international payments. I'm not allowed to spend any more than $500 in like one transaction without letting my bank know. Otherwise, they think I'm getting robbed. So I was like, how much was it, by the way? And she was like, 700. And I went, huh? 70? She goes, no, 745. And I go, what? And I turn around to him and I go, that's 745 each. And he goes, yeah, of course. If you don't want to pay it, whatever, I can just cover both halves. And I'm like, can we return the bottle? So ultimately, I literally turned to the table and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm not paying a month's rent on splitting a bottle of champagne that'll be done in fucking 5 minutes. So I said to them, I was like, y'all can drink. I'm just going to sit. And you know what, bitch? I literally sat with a fucking water all night. It was a very, very, very bleak night. But I was wondering if anyone else has had that experience where you're out at a club that you would, like, I have no idea what this club normally is. I've never been here before. I was just kind of brought there. And I was not expecting the drinks to be in the hundreds. And I don't know if that's just because I like going to dive bars and I like going to cheap places, but has anyone else ever been in that instance where like maybe you're out with friends or you're out with people you've just met or whatever like that, and they're like, oh, let's split the bill or let's split the bottle, and you're expecting it to be like $20 to $50 and it's like hundreds? I'm never going out with people like that again. I'm like, thank God my friends and I just like going to like little shitty dive bars or whatever like that where our bill is like $25 at the end of the night. That is absolutely ridiculous. There's no fucking justification for $700. It still to this day, it's 2 days later and I'm still pissed about it. There is no justification for $700 for splitting a bottle of fucking anything. I was gobsmacked. I cannot believe it. I'm like, damn, the tariffs are hitting like crazy. So anyways, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I did just have a lot on the top of my mind right now. I'm very excited for Beyonce, very excited to go home tomorrow. But today we're going to do a rise and fall of JoJo Siwa. Now, JoJo Siwa has definitely been on the top of my lips very, very, very often. Recently, I feel like I've made a lot of JoJo videos. Actually, speaking of being on my lips, that sounds like a really weird segue. I just want to grab a water really quickly. Mom, I'm thirsty. Actually, if I'm being honest, it's not even that I'm thirsty. It's the fact, first of all, I've never gone to a hotel bar. Jesus, I'm so talkative. See, this is what happens when you get me in a good mood. I normally don't go to a hotel bar because I really don't care for one. Is this throwing off the vibe? I think it's throwing off the vibe. Hold on. Let's throw it over with my broken suitcases. All right. I normally don't go to a hotel bar, number one, because I never wake up in time. But number two, because I've just always hated the idea of a hotel bar or a hotel breakfast. I went this morning because I woke up really early because of jet lag. I went to bed at like midnight and I was up at 4 a.m., which is brutal. And I went to the hotel breakfast, probably the first hotel breakfast I've ever gone to in my entire life. Girl, it is such a key down there. It is so much fun. I got like 3 fucking plates. I feel so fucking full right now, almost to like a disgusting level where like I kind of feel a little bit sick. I had like 4 fucking espresso shots, and that's why like my mouth is so perched right now. I feel like I'm being so silly. I'm being so silly. Let me pull you closer, by the way. Sorry, this is literally the most unprofessional video of all fucking time. So yes, we will do a rise and fall of JoJo Siwa today. Now again, thank you so much for the love on this little series. Again, don't take it that deep. This series literally is just coming from me being on a lot of flights and using airplane Wi-Fi to kind of look up different dates and timelines and controversies, and today's no exception because JoJo Siwa. Sorry, I feel like I just like rambled at you for how long? 11 minutes? Jesus, let's get into it. Well, at least you know where I'm at right now. So, JoJo Siwa, Rise and Fall. Let's do a little bit of a deep dive. So, obviously, JoJo Siwa, as we know, very much so had the breaking point on the internet breakthrough with Dance Moms, the Dance Moms debut. Now, JoJo was very quickly a fan favorite on the show because she was so, over the top. She was so energetic, and she was just very, very, very relatable to, kids at the time. And parents really liked JoJo as well because not only were the kids, loving JoJo, but the parents were liking JoJo because she had this very, like, innocence to her brand. And I remember this was actually something JoJo got criticism for, which was, playing into this infantilization of herself even in her like later teen years. And again, there's a nuanced conversation there, which is like people preach that like kids have like inappropriate role models, and then someone like JoJo is, acting like a kid for longer, and people are like, this is so inappropriate. So, it's like a double-edged sword. It's like a win some, you lose some. For me, I never really saw a problem with it, because she wasn't necessarily doing any harm. Albeit it was quite annoying, but I'm not the target audience. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the target audience of JoJo Siwa, like, pretending to be a child, like, literally a child until she's, like, 20. Like, that doesn't affect me. It may annoy me, but again, I'm not the kid consuming that. And obviously the reason JoJo did that was because she has this huge, or, had back then as well, this huge growing empire that was really relying on children liking her and relating to her. And something that happens whenever you have your entire brand being catered towards children is you inevitably grow out of that audience, and the audience can either immediately drop you or you drop the audience. And I think one of my favorite, pop culture eras where we saw this before was Miley Cyrus, going from Disney into the Bangers era. And, ultimately with Miley, she kept that fan base because she had a level of authenticity about her, even in her craziest. And also, at its core, Miley was an insanely talented musician with great music. So even fans that were turned off by the idea of what Miley was doing, the music was always enough to keep them. Whereas I feel like JoJo lost her fan base because the kids grew out of her. But JoJo never really had anything that others outside of the, over-exaggerated childlike persona was really that interesting. And I don't mean that to be shady in any way. I just think it's interesting to see why JoJo never really carried on with a huge loyal fan base. JoJo is popular and JoJo is incredibly famous, but JoJo's not someone you think of having a dedicated loyal fan base. More so kind of like she's memed and popular online, if you know what I mean. I guess that just comes with whenever you cater towards kids and you grow up or they grow up without you. I think it's probably very, very, very complicated to navigate that. I literally can't even imagine. So with Dance Moms, obviously, JoJo became, like I said, a fan favorite. And obviously, I would love to deep dive Dance Moms. But before that, I would need to watch Dance Moms. I have never, ever, ever watched Dance Moms. I've seen clips online of, like, Abby Lee Miller and like the mums like fighting and like biting each other and like throwing water over each other and all like this, and Abby Lee Miller screaming at kids and like horrible shit like that. Like, I've seen those clips, but I've never watched the show. And the reason I've never watched the show is because people always tell me to, right? But I feel like unless you watched it years and years ago, I feel like watching it now would not be that enjoyable. You know what I mean? Whereas it's nostalgic for people when they watch it back. But for me, I just think watching it for the first time in 2025, I don't know if it would be an enjoyable watch. So that's why I always put off watching it. But anyways, JoJo made the really smart decision of, you know, creating social media of herself and building up a brand that was external to dance moms. And this was seen in her YouTube channel. JoJo started to collaborate with huge YouTubers, huge companies, huge brands, all on her YouTube channel. So she was building up a fan base of these kids that loved her on Dance Moms on her own YouTube channel and profiting off of it, and then became very, very, very marketable on the YouTube channel aside from Dance Moms. So JoJo kind of outgrew the need for Dance Moms because JoJo became the brand herself with the smart pivot to YouTube, which was a very, very, very smart move. You know, very kid-friendly content. JoJo Siwa then launched a huge merch line that we still see in Goodwills to this day. You know, photos of JoJo when she's like a kid that are plastered on birthday cakes, birthday dinners, birthday cakes, birthday banners, balloons, notebooks, backpacks, pens, literally anything you could think of it. The JoJo Siwa bows that became a huge fucking empire within itself. Like, I would argue billions, millions for sure, you know, of these JoJo Siwa bows where she would wear the bows and then the bows would be for sale. Kids wanted to buy them. Genius marketing. You know what I mean? Like, you think of JoJo Siwa being a kid during all this, but she had clever people behind her that knew how to make money off of these fucking kids, because whether the parents wanted to buy it or not, the kids wanted that shit. So, you know, the parents ended up having to, you know, spend a lot of money for their kids to look like JoJo Siwa, which is a crazy concept. Now, I know that there was like JoJo Siwa makeup, there was JoJo Siwa brand collabs, there was honestly JoJo Siwa shoes, JoJo Siwa, there was everything you could ever think of when it came to JoJo Siwa apparel. The only comparison I could make it to would be Hannah Montana. Like, Hannah Montana was on every single product, and it wouldn't even be a Hannah Montana product. Her face would just be on it, and then it was marked up $10 more. Which reminds me of like Tana Mojo's pickles. You know, the pickle company she works with has the same pickles, I'm pretty sure, with the same ingredients on their website for like $10 cheaper, but then Tana's face is on it and it's like $10 more expensive. So yeah, I would say that I don't think JoJo ever was as famous or anything like that or had the impact that Hannah Montana had, but the consumerism, I would say, was very similar to those early, you know, years of Hannah Montana. I love when water is ice cold. So in 2017, JoJo actually signed to Nickelodeon, which was a huge, huge, huge deal as well. You know, JoJo started starring in some of their content and started releasing music as well around this time. And also started going on tour. So JoJo was pulling in millions of dollars. You know, touring, millions. Merch, millions. Starring in Nickelodeon movies and TV shows, millions. Releasing songs, maybe not millions, but obviously all together was pulling in so much money. They had JoJo working. And obviously JoJo was probably being insanely exploited by her team and probably her family by this time as to just making the most amount of money as possible. Now, JoJo actually made Forbes' top earning YouTubers list by the age of fucking 16 years old, which is absolutely psychotic. Again, this was because of this growing empire. Now, JoJo, since I would say like 2014 until, you know, I would say like kind of COVID times 2020, was kind of just seen as a very safe, marketable person. And then that really all started to change in 2021 when JoJo Siwa actually came out on social media. And this was a really big deal because, again, you know, when you are this profitable of a child star, you know, you kind of are made to have no personality or no real personal traits so that you can be as marketable to as many groups of people as possible, which is very unfortunate. So JoJo actually came out by posting a TikTok to Born This Way by Lady Gaga and confirmed that, you know, she was queer in the gay community. And again, this was a huge viral moment, and people really were very supportive of JoJo, which was obviously great to see. Now, within the next following years, JoJo went through some messy breakups. One specifically with this person called Kylie. There was a lot of relationship drama, which started to change the public's perception of JoJo a little bit, because it was kind of, I don't know, people love drama, they love relationship drama, and whenever JoJo's exes are starting to speak out against her, it really started to paint a picture that JoJo was a little bit toxic behind the scenes, okay? So, also, I found online that JoJo was involved in a feud with Candace Owens, which is crazy. Apparently, Candace claimed that JoJo wasn't a real lesbian, which is crazy. Well, the Michael Rourke of it all. And then there was a huge feud, apparently. So, anyways, from 2021, after the coming out video, until kind of present day, this is when JoJo started to really shed that, you know, Disney, wasn't even Disney, it was the Nickelodeon, I guess, image, the child star image. And the problem with this was JoJo kept referencing Miley Cyrus's bangers, Hannah Montana to Miley Cyrus, in her attempt to show you that she was also rebranding, which kind of showed that she was trying to follow a formula rather than do it authentically. And so people really didn't like the idea of JoJo Siwa doing this rebrand, because JoJo was telling us that she was trying to copy Miley Cyrus's rebrand, and Miley Cyrus got away with it because it seemed incredibly authentic, as intense as it was. You know, JoJo ditched all of the childlike personas, all the childlike stuff, and, you know, started, you know, being more leaning more towards the gay community, and would post, like, you know, really interesting, almost sexually frustrated dance challenges, I would assume, or whatever she was attempting to do in those videos. And, you know, this was whenever she then dropped Karma, her song, Karma's a bitch, you know, and obviously this song was so memed on, and still is to this day. It is such a terrible song. And also, JoJo talked about how she was going to be the CEO of gay pop, and how this song was a really big moment for her. And then it ended up coming out that JoJo didn't even write the song, and that the song was a pre-existing song from another artist who did a demo of it years prior. So JoJo's entire thing about how she worked so hard on this song was not true in the slightest, because it was a demo song, exact same lyrics, JoJo just sang it and then released it. And actually the artist ended up jumping on the hate train and released her version of the demo as well, which was incredibly unprofessional, I would say, to this day as well, because normally demos are just for artists to buy and release. So that artist doing it, I can't remember what her name was, it felt very, very, very weird to me. But anyways, the song is genuinely fucking terrible. There was a lot of grabbing her crotch, twerking, question mark, dancing, again, sexually frustrated is the only way I could describe it. And again, the audience were not on board with it, because she was actively trying to tell us that she was trying to copy the Miley Cyrus bangers, and then it just wasn't authentic, and the music also wasn't good. And also claiming the CEO of gay pop and her creating a new genre of music was just incredibly embarrassing, and it wasn't even memed on and loved, it was just memed on and found annoying. And JoJo really started to kind of just lose any fans she had at this stage, and more so would just kind of get attention from the public rather than having a devoted fan base. Now, the more people made fun of JoJo, the more she doubled down on it, which again is a marketing tactic, and it did work, but it didn't help her, like, credibility, I guess, in the long scheme. Now, I want to kind of end this on, I would say, JoJo's biggest scandal to this day. Now, there's things like, you know, she's been accused of stealing choreography and dance routines, and she's been accused of being rude behind the scenes, all these different things, right? Whatever. That's all he said, she said. Now, with JoJo Siwa, there's, I would say, kind of one big thing, and then what we're at recently. So, the XOMG Pop controversy was a big, big, big moment that doesn't get talked about a lot, because JoJo actually rebranded with Karma during this era, which is what I think was a distraction from this scandal. So basically, JoJo Siwa created a show called Siwa's Dance Pop Revolution, and it was created to launch a pop group, XOMG Pop, because JoJo Siwa was, you know, aging out of doing this child stuff that she wanted to mentor the next generation. But actually, one of the people who was involved in it, one of the kids, Leah, ended up speaking out, and she is a member who has, I think it's spina bifida, it's something like that, right? Which basically, JoJo and her mother, who were running this show, Jesslyn, Siwa, were not being appropriate with the fact that there were children on set that had medical needs. They were neglecting these allegedly, and they were just making these kids sick and overworking them and doing everything that JoJo, has this narrative of Abby Lee Miller doing to her. It seemed like a full circle moment of Abby Lee Miller was abusing JoJo Siwa and these kids verbally or whatever and overworking them. And then JoJo Siwa and her mother were then doing that on a TV show to new kids. It was like, what the hell? And this turned into a big moment, right? But then JoJo conveniently dropped the karma, and this distracted from everything. And I feel bad for these kids that were speaking up. Leah, that little kid, spoke up about how there was pressure for her to rehearse when she was literally bleeding. Like, what the fuck? And then when she would go and get surgery, she was forced to return too soon after surgery, which then set her back. And that was her mother, Angie, had said that. Now, there was also like a bunch of things talking about financial exploitation. There was just a lot of back and forth with the mothers who were on the show, with specifically JoJo's mom for mistreating them and being very shady. And again, everything that JoJo and her mother had been at the mercy of Abby Lee Miller doing to them, they were now doing to this next generation of children, which is why I have such a problem with JoJo Siwa. And this was never, ever, ever properly addressed. Ever. Ever. So, Leah then was kind of fired, I would say, and there was just a lot of public backlash from this. But again, JoJo, very clever, changed the narrative with, going this extreme, gay pop route, which distracted the media. No one was writing about this because JoJo was being so distracting, which again, pissed me off even more about the rebrand of JoJo, because it was for a reason to take away from these kids what JoJo and her mother were mistreating. I just cannot believe that JoJo was at the hands of being, exploited by the industry, and then would take the first opportunity to exploit kids in the industry. And fuck Jesslyn Siwa as well for doing that when you experience what your daughter went through. Fuck you as well. And so then that leads us to the final scandal, which is obviously JoJo Siwa is dating, her partner, Kath Ebbs, and then JoJo goes in the Big Brother house and, cheats basically with Chris Hughes, a 32 I think year old straight man who was a Love Island star, I think he was, something like that. And they get really close, definitely emotionally cheating on their partners on the show. JoJo on the show is opening up about her queerness, that she doesn't really identify with being a lesbian anymore, which is fine. Sexuality is fluid, but it was not the time or place to be doing that on reality TV when you have your partner literally watching on TV as you cheat on them and also say that you don't want to be with them anymore. It's crazy that we find out about that in real time, as JoJo's partner, Kath Ebbs, did. And then JoJo gets out of the house, breaks up with Kath Ebbs on the night of the finale of the show, and then goes on a press tour with Chris Hughes and says that they aren't dating, they're just platonic friends, because they were getting a lot of backlash for the age gap and also just cheating on national TV. And then cut to a couple weeks later, they've confirmed that they're dating. They're, by the pool kissing. They're going to Universal together, hugging, kissing. They're, in bed, lying on each other naked, posting photos that looks like a maternity photo shoot. And JoJo is now embracing this new era of her life where she's finally found peace and found the right person. And there's now this narrative about JoJo Siwa, which is, she was never gay in the first place. She just needed to find the right man. And JoJo and her team are definitely feeding into that narrative as well for attention, which is absolutely disgusting to be doing that in Pride Month. And cheers to that. So, there we have it. That is the rise and fall, as it is until this day, of Miss JoJo Siwa. Let me know if there's anything I missed, anything that particularly stands out to you. And again, never forget that the karma ship was a distraction for the XOMG Pop kids speaking out, which is so fucking disgusting. I will see you in my next one. Hope you're all doing very well, and goodbye.